In 1872, Yellowstone became the world's first national park, a testament to humanity's commitment to preserving the Earth's natural wonders. Over the years, the national parks system has expanded across 84 million acres, serving as a sanctuary for hundreds of different animal and plant species. Beyond their breathtaking landscapes, these national parks are stages for awe-inspiring wildlife spectacles. Majestic creatures roam freely, creating a harmonious balance within these protected ecosystems. Today, more than 300 million visitors annually are drawn to the beauty and majesty of these parks. From families to solo adventurers, the parks have become a cherished escape for those seeking a connection with nature. However, amidst this natural grandeur, a silent threat looms, one that is quietly eroding the very integrity these parks were founded to protect. Our national parks face a new, insidious enemy that jeopardizes the delicate balance of their ecosystems. Irresponsible and uneducated tourists are causing distress to the parks. Through supplementation and littering, visitors in the national parks are habituating wildlife to human foods and behaviors. These activities are devastating the balance of ecosystems, exposing humans to unnecessary harm and initiating a psychological decline in wildlife. When the COVID-19 pandemic besieged the nation, many parks were forced to close their gates. Due to these enforced closures, the national parks experienced a stark decrease in visitation. Tourism was down 28%. Isolation from nature stirred a fire for adventure in the hearts of those afflicted by the pandemic. After restrictions were lifted, the national parks have been experiencing an unprecedented growth in tourism traffic of 5% each year to date. The overwhelming increase in visitor numbers is compounding an already existent issue of careless tourists and their inappropriate interactions with wildlife. In the heart of our national parks, a hidden crisis unfolds. Over 70 million tons of trash enter these pristine landscapes, testing the National Park Service's ability to manage the waste, from plastic to food to discarded camping gear and much more. Researchers paint a grim picture, estimating that over 1 million animals lose their lives annually, entrapped in or ingesting the litter. Animals suffer not only from ingestion, but also from the physical harm caused by broken glass and plastic, impacting the delicate food web on which we all depend. In a recent and heartbreaking case, a 10-year-old deer met its demise from intestinal obstruction, a result of consuming trash over time. Plastic bags, used coffee and noodle packets, rubber gloves, handkerchiefs, underwear, and even a plastic rope filled its stomach. The impact of litter on wildlife is devastating. It's not just about the visible pollution, but the long-term consequences for the entire ecosystem. The areas surrounding these protected forests, though designated for preservation, are closely connected to human communities and roadsides. Passers-by sometimes unknowingly contribute to this crisis. Their impact, reverberating through the serene beauty of our national parks, extends far beyond the wildlife and ecosystems they directly affect. It resonates with the very essence of our collective responsibility, reminding us that the animal's well-being is inseparable from our own. The human-animal relationship is one as old as civilization. From hunting to domestication, humans and wildlife have always coexisted. In recent years, the desire for animal observation has grown tremendously. Due to the nature of the long-standing human-animal interdependence, many feel connecting with wildlife is their congenital right. Unfortunately, when these interactions occur without regard for potential consequences, the wildlife suffers immensely. Prolonged interaction with humans as a product of supplementation radically alters an animal's psychology. numerous cases have been recorded of wildlife that have been consistently fed by tourists, displaying unnaturally violent behavior. These encounters result in serious injury, and in some cases, even the loss of human life. Independent of harm to visitors, supplementation generates a plethora of damaging effects on wildlife. Extended exposure to human feeding habituates animals to humans and trains them to solely rely on tourists as their source of food. This substantially alters the natural balance of ecosystems. Over time, wildlife will forget their innate instinct to hunt and gather. Parents no longer teach their young the skills needed to survive. Without the need to hunt, the equilibriums of predators to prey become extraordinarily unbalanced. Species begin to exist in a capacity that is not sustainable to their natural habitats, causing detrimental effects to the ecosystem. Animals become invasive to their natural homes. Experts have witnessed unsettling behavior in wildlife who have developed a dependence on human supplementation. They have observed that when provisions from tourists cease, animals lack the motivation or ability to fend for themselves and starve. The national parks, designed to preserve and protect wildlife, are being forced to violate their founding principles to counteract irresponsible tourists. When unbeknownst to them, wildlife participates in behaviors deemed as a potential risk to tourists or themselves. Drastic measures are taken to maintain environmental integrity.
As a park ranger, I have seen a lot of habituation from wild animals because they have either been purposefully fed or accidentally got food from humans. And it's a problem I see most often in bears. So what happens is when a bear gets used to getting food from humans, it's something that we call being food conditioned, right? So if people are out camping in the backcountry or things like that, and they're not using proper bear-proof bear cans to put their food in, or they're not doing a bear hang or taking the proper safety protocol to make sure that the bear can't get to their food, what ends up happening is the bear gets their food and then figures out, oh, hey, I can get food from people. And then the bear will start seeking out people in order to get food. And that can pose a real threat. So what happens to that bear now is it ends up getting put onto a kill list. So because of the actions and negligence of humans, that bear is now going to pay the price and it will be killed on sight.
Without change, the wildlife whom we long to admire will have suffered irreversible damage. Action must be taken to preserve the integrity of our national parks. There is a desperate need for increased education. If tourists better understand what ensues in their careless actions, many would be appalled and seek rectification. The vast majority of the population remains unaware of the harm befalling the animals in the national parks. Implementing preemptive education programs for those intending to visit the parks may serve as a deterrent for reckless behavior. If an area is predisposed to be, or is known as a common area for wildlife supplementation, the national parks have an obligation to closely monitor that sector. Increased signage condoning wildlife feeding, combined with a larger presence of park staff, can serve as a discouragement in sites with frequent offenses. The national parks should be where wildlife peacefully and safely exists, a place where humans have the opportunity to participate in a symbiotic relationship with nature without causing harm. The National Parks Mission: preserve unimpaired the natural and cultural resources and values of the national park system for the enjoyment, education, and inspiration of this and future generations.